Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be making some easy DIY Christmas home decor. I'm going to show you how easy it is to take some wood pieces and turn them into something beautiful, whether it's scrap wood or wood pieces you can get from Dollar Tree. Either way, it's on a budget. Let's get started. We're going to start out by mixing up some paints. I'm just going to use a green that I had on hand and dull it down with, well, not dull it down, deepen it with some black paint. I probably would have used, what is it called? I think it's called Fern by Waverly. But in case you missed my previous video, I have been moving my crafting space temporarily over to my parents because we are in the process of moving. And I didn't bring everything over, so I was just using what I had on hand. I also wanted to thin this out a little bit because I remember that I kind of wanted to make this not quite like a stain, but I did want to be able to see the wood through it just a little bit. So I have this wood house. This was from, I think it was from Target Dollar Spot at some point, but I've already previously used it, as you can see. But we're going to paint the front and the back with this green paint. And I mixed it, but I didn't fully mix it. Like, it's a little bit streaky. I like that look. If that bothers you, you know, don't do that. And then I'm going to just paint the edges, the roof, and the sides with some white paint as well. I couldn't fully sand off the black. I mean, I probably could have, but I didn't. We're going to give it a fresh coat. I'm going with green and white. You do whatever colors you want to do. And then I have these stamps. I think a friend gave these to me, so I'm not sure where they came from, but Dollar Tree has really been stepping up their stamps. At least mine has. It's pretty nice. So I am using some paint to do this because I didn't have any white ink. So I just used a sponge brush and dabbed it on, trying to not like make it, you know, gob up in the crevices. And then it also had this little saying that said, I think there's no place like home. Anyway, I thought this was really cute, and it's not perfect. I did touch up just a little bit one of the E's to make sure you could actually read it, but I didn't mind it being a little less than perfect. Honestly, I see stuff in stores that look a little bit rustic and like they were homemade, and so I just embraced it. It's not super perfect, but I love how this came out even with the imperfect snowflake, and the green does look a little bit blotchy here on camera, but it's not that bad in person. I think it just wasn't fully dry. For these next two projects, we're going to use some scrap pieces of wood that are cut into a triangle, and everything that is a triangle is a Christmas tree when it comes to this time of year. Am I right? So I'm going to use some green paint that was mixed up, and I'm really watering this down really just by dampening my paintbrush because I wanted the wood grain to come through here. So I'm going to give this a good coat on all the sides, front and back, but you can make it, you know, more of a solid green if you want. However you want to do this. You can make it rustic or not rustic. You can make it bright and vibrant. You can make it dull. You could just stain it antique wax. You get the idea. You're going to do it however you want. The second one, I'm going to use some white paint, and this I don't know. I don't have all my normal crafting supplies with me when I'm doing these videos right now, so I just kind of put the paint on my paintbrush and then gently dipped it into some water and then brushed this on and wiped it off. So I'm trying to go for a colored stain, I suppose you could say, or the appearance of a colored stain. And then I wiped it back. Then I realized this was way too, it was not bright enough. It was way too see-through. There's a word I'm looking for, but it's left me. So I just kept going and layering it and adding more paint, less water, letting it sit for a little bit before I dried it off, before I wiped it off, until I got the look I want. So here I was like, okay, I need to see what it looks like. And so I dried it with my heat gun and I went back again. But the point of this is to show you how you can kind of make a little bit of a stain if you want to see that wood grain, and that's the look I was going for. So we're making some trees, and I needed some trunks to our trees. So I had this little wood piece in my stash, and I'm just going to stain this with some antique wax. I'm going on pretty thick here before I go ahead and wipe it off. But that's, once again, totally up to you. Now, I didn't put any stain on the top because I didn't want there to be anything to get in the way of the glue that we're going to use later on. So I did notice a couple spots that I had missed, so I went back and touched them up and then wiped it off and then let that sit to dry. For the next one, we're going to use a little wooden spool, just a plain little wooden spool, and once again with the antique wax. And you'll notice that depending on the type of wood you're using is going to make it vary on how it takes it, how long you would need to leave it on or wipe it off, depending on what you're going for. But I like that they're not exactly the same, although this one is a little bit thinner. I did go ahead and wipe off with a paper towel kind of in the cracks there to get some of that extra off. Now we're going to assemble this. I'm going to use some super glue, wood glue. This is from Dollar Tree, and I'm spreading it around with my finger, and then I do use a little bit of hot glue, not making sure that it's not all in the exact same spot. There was a little bit of overlap, but it's fine. It worked fine as long as you have some that is not overlapping. That's kind of important. And I attached my spool onto this little wood disc round. I don't know what you would call that, little wood piece. And then we're going to attach our triangle to the top of the spool, once again using some wood glue and some hot glue. And you notice I did sand down just the bottom of that a little bit. There is no sealant on it. It was just a little bit of paint. But to help that glue stick, I just sanded off, just like on this one too, just a little section of it. And I did Mod Podge the front and backs of these triangles, but I just purposely left the bottom alone to make sure I didn't have any trouble. And we're going to attach our green one onto this base and wipe off any excess glue. And I really like how these ones came out. I think this makes a sweet little set of trees. And there's so many varieties here, so many different things that you could use for your trunks and scrap pieces of wood for the trees. Use your imagination, go through your stash, find out what little bits and pieces you have, and make yourself some little trees. I thought it looked nice with the little house, and this would make a nice little ensemble in decor. For this next one, I believe this is a scrap piece of flooring. My friend gave this to me, but you can use any scrap piece of wood, or even Dollar Tree has some pieces. And I have this inspiration piece from Wayfair. It's probably much larger than the sign that I'm going to make, but I loved it and I thought I can definitely make this. But I put off this little DIY because I thought I'm going to mess this up. But I'm going to just take you through the process here and show you you do not have to be an artist. This is actually easier than it seems like it was going to be. I did sand down my piece of wood, not completely. It's definitely still rough. But it was good enough for me here. And I kind of kept going back to the inspiration picture. And I'll try to remember to link that down in the description box for you to reference if you would like. And I didn't do it exact, but I did use that as inspiration. So the first white tree, I just did these little dash marks. And then I took some gold paint and made, I guess you could say, like a stick figure tree. I also used that gold for the base of that other tree. Put little white balls on the gold stick tree, and I made this solid triangle. I missed painting that, but you get the idea. Put a little gold trunk and a simple gold star, and just filled that in. I just did little dash marks for the star because it was hard to get it, looking like a star, and that worked really well. And then we're gonna go to the other side, and I tried to have these all kind of like centered. I didn't do the white at the bottom that the inspiration piece had, but that's certainly an option. So for this one, we're just gonna do a straight line down with white paint, and then we're gonna do like the drapey, swoopy branches. And I tried to not overthink it because even in the inspiration piece from Wayfair, it was not perfect. It looks like it was hand done. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go with this and not overthink it. Who cares if I mess it up? It's a scrap piece of wood. I made the little dash marks. This is a little hard to see on camera here, but I put a little gold dot at the top and at the bottom of each one of those little dashes hanging off of the tree. And then for my last tree, we're going to do another solid white tree like we had on the other end. And I do use a slightly thicker paintbrush for filling this in, but this is majorly sped up because this would take a while. But take your time. And it's a pretty therapeutic, at least to me, project to do. I did use my heat gun to dry this down so that we could do the next part. I made the trunk on this one white, and then we're going to put some gold dots randomly on this tree, and then I'm going to add on a little star as well. I think the key to this is, one, don't overthink it, just go for it. If you have to sand it down, whatever. And get some small paintbrushes. They don't have to be pricey. You can get them at Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Dollar Tree. Just have some small paintbrushes. That makes a world of difference in these projects. But truthfully, do not overthink this type of thing. You don't have to be perfect at it, and it still comes out. I really loved this project. It was so fun to make. I love painting projects. I don't do enough of them. But when you just kind of look at the whole thing, and I didn't put anything on this to hang it up, but you can put a sawtooth hanger or attach some twine on the back to hang it up.
You could just use it as a leaner sign, which is probably what I'm going to do. But when you look at this piece as a whole, I just love how this came out. I think it looks great. Let me know what you think, and would you give something like this a try? Remember, you don't have to be an artist, and it doesn't have to be perfect. This wood round sign came from Dollar Tree, from their Crafter Square, but I know that they have these at a lot of craft stores and Walmart. And then this metal Merry Christmas. This came from Dollar General, I'm pretty sure, and I bought a couple of them last year at the end of the season. They have their stuff super cheap when it's on clearance, and I'm sure I got it for like 10 or 20 cents. So we're going to get back to that in a second, but it was perfect, the perfect size for this wood round. So now I'm going to make a little bow with this white and beige striped ribbon, and I just, because this is a one-sided ribbon, meaning the other side looks different than the other, I made the little loop at the top, and then I tied that with a piece of twine, and then I tied on the tails so that they could hang down properly. And then I decided I wanted to cover up the twine in the center of the bow, so I just cut off a smaller piece of the ribbon, just a little scrap piece, and I'm just going to hot glue that around, and I'm also going to tighten it up a little bit. And then once that is all done, we're going to kind of adjust our bow here and just kind of try to fluff it. I left the tails long. We'll trim them down at the end. I wanted to wait and see how this whole thing was going to come together. So I am going to hot glue on the metal piece here, but you know, they don't always stick really great with, I don't know, with hot glue, with metal, but I also wasn't sure what else to do because there wasn't a large space to attach it. So I'm just going to attach all the embellishments over it, and it seems to be holding pretty well. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm just cutting up some scraps. I have little pieces of those garland ties, Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby, they all have them. And I just save all of the bits and pieces. I have a couple of little Ziploc bags in my stash from just like odds and ends and scrap pieces and like berries that fell off of something, little greenery pieces, leaves from flower picks that I didn't use. And we're just going to hot glue them in and around this bow to look, you know, like it's a layered piece here. And I just kind of did what looked right to my eye. And then I have these little green sparkly pieces. I know those for sure came from a pick from Dollar Tree. And you can see they're just these tiny little pieces. We're hot gluing that underneath the bow. And I'm just putting my finger inside the bow of the loop to press it down on the pieces where the glue is attaching. And then I decided to add just a little smidgen of red. This is some berries that came off of the Dollar Tree berry garlands. And I just threw some hot glue on them and tucked them underneath there. There weren't anything grand, but just a little pop of red up there. And then I am doing the dovetail on the ribbons, folding them and cutting from the outside in. I do sometimes get that wrong. I end up trimming them up again because, yeah, it was a little too long. But this piece was super simple. Sometimes you just have something simple from a store and you want to attach it to something else, and it just makes it look a little bit more substantial than it would have on its own. This is a great example of that. Nothing super difficult, but I love how this piece came out.
All right, well, that is going to do it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It's an easy way to help me out, help my channel grow. And if you think you're going to do any one of these DIYs, let me know down in the comments, or maybe just let me know which one is your favorite, or you can just leave an emoji. That's fine. That also is great. And if you are new here, I would love it if you consider subscribing to my channel before you leave. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.